Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below because today we are diving headfirst into the maelstrom that is Steve Bannon's comeback.
Oh yeah, he's back.
Big time. And we've got this really juicy article from the Daily Beast. It's all about what Bannon's been up to since he got out of prison. And wow, it was wild.
Definitely a whirlwind. He jumps right back on his War Room podcast.
No time wasted.
Straight back into the political arena.
So, for anyone who maybe hasn't heard, Bannon was convicted of contempt of Congress, for ignoring that subpoena from the January 6th committee.
Right.
He did serve a 4-month sentence, though.
He did.
But now he's back.
And louder than ever.
Louder than ever. The article really digs into how he's spinning this whole thing.
Oh, yeah. He's going all in on this political prisoner narrative, saying Nancy Pelosi was targeting him, trying to silence him and break him. It's really quite fascinating.
Isn't it? It's like he's trying to make himself into some kind of martyr for the cause. And he's even saying that prison actually made him stronger.
Oh, yeah?
That he's more energized and focused than ever before. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a pretty smart move, honestly. By playing the victim of the establishment, he's getting sympathy from his base.
Oh, for sure.
And it really boosts his image as this fearless truth teller who's fighting the system. It all feeds into that distrust of authority that many of his followers already feel.
Absolutely. And he doesn't stop there. He's not just complaining about prison. He's using it to influence the upcoming election. He's telling his listeners to vote Trump in those battleground states, saying it's the only way to stop the Democrats from stealing in the election.
And that's where things get really interesting, because his rhetoric really taps into this whole wave of election denialism we've been seeing, which is basically just refusing to accept the real election results.
Right.
And that's a dangerous game to play, because whether he has proof or not, it just creates so much distrust in the entire system.
Totally. It's like he's planting these seeds of doubt that could just erupt into total chaos on Election Day. He's even saying that every day after the election will be like Stalingrad, with constant legal battles over the results. Talk about dramatic.
We really have to think about the impact of those kinds of statements. Even without solid evidence, his claims can still damage public trust in elections. And that can even lead to violence.
Yeah, it's like he's setting the stage for some major showdown. A real battle for the future of America. And it's not just about this one election. It's about whether people even believe in democracy anymore.
Exactly. That kind of distrust fueled by these claims can have huge consequences.
And then there's this whole incident at a Trump rally in Madison Square Garden that Bannon's defending, where a comedian made a really offensive racist joke.
Right. That rally where the comedian made the racist joke about Puerto Rico Bannon just brushed it off as a throwaway, not funny line.
Which is insane.
It is, but it actually tells us a lot about his approach.
It's like he's saying, as long as you're on our side, we can just ignore a little racism.
Well, it's not that simple. But it does make you wonder about what he's willing to tolerate to get what he wants. This willingness to dismiss these controversial events, even when they're really serious, is something to keep in mind when we analyze his overall strategy. Definitely something to dive deeper into. But first, a quick reminder to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.
Yes, please do. And don't forget to leave us a comment with your thoughts on Bannon's return. Is he a political prisoner or a master manipulator? We want to know.
We do.
All right, folks, we'll be right back with more on Steve Bannon's post-prison escapades and what it all means for the upcoming election. Stick around.
So before we jumped into the comments, we were talking about Bannon's claims about the 2020 election, all that voter fraud stuff.
Right.
We can't forget that those claims have been debunked, like over and over again.
Yep, tons of investigations, recounts, court rulings, you name it.
They all confirm that the election was legit, but Bannon's still pushing this narrative. It's like he's playing on this feeling of being wronged and distrust among his base. He's basically setting things up to challenge the results of the next election no matter what happens. If things don't go his way, he can just point back to these claims and be like, see? I told you so.
Exactly.
And that's what makes his rhetoric so powerful and also so dangerous, because it erodes public trust in our institutions and could even lead to violence if his supporters think the system is rigged against them.
And what about Bannon defending that Trump rally at Madison Square Garden, the one with that awful racist joke?
Right. That can't just be ignored. It says a lot about Bannon's priorities and who he's willing to team up with, even if they have hateful views.
It's like he's saying, if you're on my team, I'll look the other way.
Yeah. It normalizes that kind of behavior and could encourage others to do the same.
So we've got Bannon pushing conspiracy theories, downplaying racism, and telling his followers to take action. It feels like things are going to explode.
That's a good point. Bannon thrives on chaos. He's a master at making things feel urgent and scary, which can really motivate his supporters.
It's like he's trying to create a crisis on purpose so he can justify doing extreme things.
Exactly. We can't just ignore Bannon's words as empty threats. They have the potential to cause real harm.
So what can we do to fight back against this kind of talk and protect our democracy?
Well, we need to be more media literate and think critically. We can't just passively absorb information. We need to question where it comes from and consider different viewpoints.
Right. We have to be aware of our own biases and be willing to challenge our own assumptions.
Exactly. We also need to support groups that are fighting misinformation and promoting fact-checking. There are some great resources out there that can help us navigate this crazy information landscape.
And don't forget about the power of talking to each other.
Yeah.
We need to have respectful conversations, even with people who disagree with us. We have to try to understand where they're coming from and find common ground.
Absolutely. Listening to each other is crucial for a healthy democracy. It's the only way to bridge the divides that are tearing us apart.
And at the end of the day, the most powerful tool we have is our vote. Our democracy depends on it. We need to make our voices heard and choose leaders who will stand up for our values and institutions.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want you to consider this. How might Bannon's return affect the upcoming election and the political landscape as a whole? It's something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. And we want to hear what you think. Head over to the comments and share your thoughts. While you're there, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our future deep dives.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
All right, deep divers, we've been through a lot today.
We have.
Steve Bannon's back from prison.
Yeah.
He's saying he was a political prisoner. He's pushing this whole election denialism thing.
Right.
And he's defending that crazy Trump rally. It's been wild.
It really has. We've also talked about how his words could impact the election and politics in general. Bannon's return is a big deal, no doubt.
So what are the main takeaways here? What do we need to remember going forward?
Well, I think the most important thing is to think critically. You can't just take things at face value, especially from someone like Bannon, who's known for spreading misinformation.
Right. We can't just believe everything we see and hear. We have to do our research, look at reliable sources, and even question our own beliefs.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of words. Bannon's a master at using language to make people feel things, create a sense of urgency, and get his supporters to act. We need to recognize those tactics and not let them control us.
He's definitely good at pushing people's buttons.
He is. And that can be dangerous, especially when things are so politically divided.
So what can we do? What can we actually do to fight back against this and protect our democracy?
For one thing, we can support organizations that are fighting misinformation and teaching people how to be more media literate. There are some awesome groups out there doing really important work.
We need to be able to sort through all this information and make smart decisions.
Right. We can also try to have real conversations with people who have different views. It's not always easy, but it's important to listen to each other, understand where those differences come from, and try to find common ground.
It's about coming together even when we disagree.
Exactly. And in the end, the most powerful thing we have is our vote. Our democracy depends on it. We have to make our voices heard and elect leaders who will protect our values and institutions.
Well said. So deep divers, as we wrap up this episode, we want to leave you with one last question. How do you think Bannon's comeback will affect the election and the political landscape? It's something to really think about.
Head over to the comments and tell us what you think. And while you're there, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future deep dives.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep thinking critically.